Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
Hello and welcome to Grilling JR. This is Paul Bromwell, and I'm joined by the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how you doing this week?
I'm good, thanks, Paul. Just trying to figure out this new system you boys have got installed, and they tell me and our crack staff that we're ready to roll. So,
buddy,
I don't have a clue. I really don't.
This has been comedy gold. We've been playing a little game called Click This, Drag That, Fuck You for the last half hour before we got here.
I've been thinking that.
I know you have. It's been written all over your face, but we made it. And by the way, we're broadcasting from the Blue Chew Studios. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code JR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. JR, you're a believer in the product, aren't you?
It works. That's what you need to hear. It works, folks.
He is a paying believer. He believes in it. It's good stuff. So there you go. Well, JR, listen, we're going to jump right into it today because we're doing a watch along. And I'm excited. This is from 25 years ago. We're going back to the first ever 2-hour Monday Night Raw. It's from February 3rd, 1997. It was in the Toronto Skydome. It was actually recorded on January the 31st with an attendance of 25,268. So what I'd like you guys to do, if you're going to watch along with us, this is the part where you want to fire up that Peacock machine. So launch the cock, as Connie sometimes says.
Something else, Andy.
Go to Monday Night. He is something. And we're going to go to Season 5 of Monday Night Raw, Episode 5. And we're going to count it down, Jim. I'm excited. We're about to do this. This follows up the show we did recently covering the Royal Rumble 1997. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I am. I swear to God, I am.
Please, Paul, get this shit started.
All right. Slowly and Blue Chew, I'm ready to roll.
All right, let's do it.
Speaking of Blue Chew, I have better things to do tonight.
Hey-oh. Yes, sir. Here we go.
As we record this, I'm leaving town tomorrow morning for lovely Chicago.
Hey, folks, it's time to take your podcast game to the next level. And you certainly want to get your almighty push. My God, we have to have a push, right? We'll get that over to adfreeshows.com. Now, I'm telling you, if you're a fan of Grilling JR, adfreeshows.com has the entire episode library, and it's got no ads. 0 ads, zilch, none. Ad-free and on video starting at just $9. Did you hear what I said? $9. You spend more than that at Starbucks, for God's sakes. 2 mornings. If that's not all, folks, we got tons of bonus content, including my after-hours roundtable, where drinking was involved with Eric and Tony. You simply will not find a better value in all of wrestling. Hey, look, don't make me go red ass, because by God, you know I will. Hurry over to adfreeshows.com right now and sign up. And I thank you.
Very nice.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's talk about that as soon as we launch this. So let's do it in 3, 2, one, and play.
The revolutionary force in
There it
sports
is.
entertainment.
Let's hear the intro here. This is fun.
Welcome everyone to the Skydome, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Tonight it's Royal Rumble Raw, where over 25,000 fans are here, plus Shawn Michaels, Psycho Sid, and 2 championships on the line.
The man they call Vader making his way to the ring here in the Skydome to play Smash Mouth with Stone Cold. But right now, let's take you back to the Royal Rumble.
Yes, it was the Alamo Dome, where over 60,000 fans were on hand to witness the most controversial conclusion in Royal Rumble match history. Austin all over Diesel. Come on, Austin. Undertaker and Vader in the corner.
And Hulk and Mankind.
Austin been eliminated.
You notice those referees back to turn. I love that.
That's right. Nobody saw it happen.
There's no evidence.
No evidence. Just us.
Except
Just-
on video and the 25 or 30,000 people that were there.
Just the millions watching at home.
Where Austin eliminates Bret in Toronto. A lot of the fans like it. A lot of the fans did not. But Austin is getting his hand raised by young Mike Chioda and
Look at him.
balding Jimmy Corderas.
And there it is. So that sets us up here. Austin's the winner. He has a big-time Royal Rumble moment, but Bret Hart isn't having it. He's upset. He's in Jimmy Corderas' face. He's yelling at Mike Chioda. He grabs Mike Chioda, flings him to the ground like trash. And he's getting into it with Corderas. This is at the Alamo Dome, and this is going to set up this Monday Night Raw that we're here in Toronto for, which, by the way, as we watch Bret here, man, I saw the feedback you and Conrad got on Bret Hart's heel turn, heel in 1997. That was unbelievable. Did you see some of the feedback online about that show you did with Connie?
I have not. I was too busy taking Blue Chew, but nonetheless, I'll go research it.
Oh, it got over. It was a big-time, fantastic show.
Seriously, I'm glad everybody liked it because we worked hard on it. It was a great topic and great time to talk wrestling.
Well, here we are now. We're back at this big Monday Night Raw event. JR, this, as I said, this is the first 2-hour Monday Night Raw. You and Conrad, during your show that you talked about Bret Hart, I can get it out. It was right after that Rumble on Raw, but that show featured Bret quitting, then returning for the announcement of the Final Four to determine who would take on Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. And I wanted to share this with you. This came straight from The Observer. Don't be surprised to see either major or minor changes in regards to Monday Night Raw. The rating for the January 20th edition, that's the Raw right after the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, where we see the world title change hands, right? So Shawn wins it from Sid. A controversial Rumble finish, which we just saw here, highlighting the intro to Raw. And then you open with a hot Raw by seeing Bret Hart quit. All this. Nitro still wins the hour handily and scores a tremendous second-hour rating. This was a major cause of concern for both WWF and the USA Network. Do you remember how quick this comes in to you guys from USA? And was this kind of, hey, we're going 2 hours from now on? Is that how it all unfolded?
Well, I knew that we were going to go 2 hours. And as we've grown to know over the years, that's still not enough, apparently. But in any event, no, I didn't have a lot of interaction with USA. Being the head, well, that's what you're saying. That's you, Paul.
Yeah.
The issue is I was too busy running a talent relations department and paying wrestlers and doing weekly payoffs and live event bookings. So I didn't really get waist deep in the USA business. This is a good way to hot start to start the show. A lot of talent in the ring right now. Jerry Briscoe and Pat Patterson.
Yeah, this is Bret Hart just making his way down to the ring in a big onslaught here with Vader's in the ring. I think we're going to get a little Stone Cold as well here. But look at the it's interesting because and Stone Cold and Hart are just fighting up the rampway here. It's a melee to start this hot Raw in Toronto.
Melees are always nice to start.
This is
the fans are invested as we speak, and that's what you look for.
This is the 2-hour show, the infamous Thursday, Raw Thursday, which sees Shawn Michaels lose his smile. That's moved because of the Westminster Dog Show. How much did everyone hate the old Westminster Dog Show?
It wasn't real bow well popular. It'd even make you want to turn off those commercials on TV for the ASPCA and these starving dogs. God bless them. We should all help.
We should.
But somebody's going to say, JR's bullshitting. No, I'm not. When I grew up as a kid until I left for college, I always had a dog. So I'm a dog guy. I'm glad you guys have been informed of that. I don't want a puppy for Christmas next year, nothing like that.
Well, this is not a fan. Westminster Dog Show, again, that was the big deal. But let's talk about Stone Cold. Here he is. This is the start of 97. He wins the Rumble. This is the year that everything really, like we said on that Royal Rumble 97, you're tying the rocket ship to his back. And here he is mixing it up with Vader. Meltzer says in The Observer that the original plan for this very episode was to air the Royal Rumble in this spot. But there's an agreement between the pay-per-view carriers that you can't do it. And literally on January 29th, the decision is made that it will be a 2-hour show. From there, the next show is 2 days later for the World Wrestling Federation, and it's in the Skydome in Toronto. Was this show, do you remember, JR, always supposed to be a television shoot?
I don't think so. I don't remember exactly. I wouldn't want to swear to it, but if I had to give you an answer right now, I don't think that it was originally. It was kind of thrown together.
I asked because the crowd, it's not well mic'd. It doesn't look like a normal TV shoot is my point. The lighting.
Oh, I think you're right.
The lighting doesn't look the same.
We played the hand that we were dealt, and that necessitated, in the eyes of many decision makers, that we go make this a Raw from Toronto. We had a great advance. We had a lot of tickets sold. But like you said, the key tip-off is the fact that it's not lit like a TV shoot.
As we watch Vader climb, not to the second rope, but to the top of the rope here, the ref's yelling at him. He smacks the referee in the face, and then there it is. The groin shot, the nut shot from Austin. And he's waylaying into Big Leon here.
Yeah, taking advantage of that low blow the referee did not see, which at the end of the day was Leon's fault because he's the one that smacked the ref, and now he just threw Austin right into the referee, and we're back meleeing it.
We had as we go to a commercial break, we'll come back in here. We had some AFS fan members ask some questions, and top guy Patrick Ruth wants to know, how was the morale at this point backstage during the Monday Night War?
How many years ago was this, Paul?
25 years ago, sir.
Well, I should remember that right off the top of my head, how the morale was 25 years ago. It was a company fighting to get back on top. There was a sense of urgency. And that's the best way I could describe it. Leon just took his own ass bump. That's pretty impressive. Austin's body slamming Leon.
It is.
Later, former University of Colorado center. There's a near fall kick out by Leon. I always loved Leon. He was just such a big pain in the ass. Very childlike in a lot of ways, but he was just kind of cool to be around.
Would you, looking back at it now, do you wish he could have had a run with the WWF title at some point?
What I really wish, Paul, is that he would have gotten to us and I would have hired him before his body was breaking down at such a rapid pace. That's what I wish. Would I like to have him when he's 30? Of course. But that's not the way it worked. So we got him in. Leon's balls are really taking a beating here.
Yeah, it's one blow after another, not the good kind either.
I don't think he's got a cup on either. Austin back doing his thing, just kicking ass. They're trying to get the crowd into it.
Jim, I got to ask, you're on play-by-play here with Vince, and we all know the stories, how Vince notoriously, when he's not on the mic, he's usually in you or the King or whoever is on commentary in your ear.
You're right.
When you're calling with him, is somebody who's in your ear in that, for instance? Is there anybody in your ear?
Not at all.
There you go. So you would like to be calling beside Vince then, I guess, right?
Oh, absolutely. I had a good time. Vince is very good, and we had good chemistry, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would have the two-man booth, so to speak, really worked well for me and him, I thought. But that's a story. And the other thing that tips it off, it was done kind of last minute. There's no Lawler. So apparently Lawler didn't make the trip. Is that?
This is you, Vince, and then there's a little Doc Hendricks, because they have you running around the Skydome doing some interviews, and they'll bring in Doc Hendricks, who we know is Michael PSA's jumping in the booth with Vince for a little bit of this.
So Michael was already going to be at TV. He was a creative guy, but there's no Lawler, which tells me that the plans to do this as a television shoot came late in the evening, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's listen. Let's pick up the audio here. I think that was the big DQ finish there. So we had Vader beating Steve Austin via DQ, and it was 8 minutes 13 seconds. Austin gave the ref a stone cold stunner before the match, which we talked about it, the melee. Hart had jumped Austin, and they had a short brawl. Vader, by the way, Jim, who may not have been 100% due to pneumonia, didn't look good, and Austin wasn't good enough to carry the match. This is all according to Meltzer. He gave it 1 star.
Well, my God, we had to take that to the bank.
He had coming off pneumonia. Give me a break. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The brawl was better than the match itself here, according to Meltzer. But was Austin not good enough, as Dave would say here, or is it just Vader too sick for Steve to really get anything out of Leon?
Well, of course it was. You got a 400-pound guy with pneumonia coming off his pneumonia bed. How smart you got to be to figure that out, for God's sakes. Well, I don't know what's wrong with Leon. He has fucking pneumonia, you idiot. Was also not good enough. That is one of the more ridiculous statements. And I have a lot of respect for Dave.
Yeah.
And I've known him for 30 plus years, probably longer than most people in the business. But man, oh man, come on. It's always a conspiracy we're looking for.
I know. Always got to be some kind of dirt.
Is that me?
Tied to it.
Some bash with that black hat on.
That is you. Let's go. Let's listen.
In Madison Square Garden, we all know that Ahmed Johnson had the match won against the Nation of Domination. We all know that. And you turn your back on Ahmed, you turn your back on all the fans. Don't you think these fans are upset that you turned your back on them?
Just listen to me right now. I don't care what you fans think about it. The Nation of Domination is going to be #1 in the World Wrestling Federation. Now, all the Latin American people is going to be proud of Savio Vega. I don't care what you think. I don't care what everybody thinks. Nation of Domination is going to rule the World Wrestling Federation.
All right, thank you very much, JR. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this special presentation of Royal Rumble Raw, special 2-hour presentation. Don't go anywhere. We've got 2 title matches up here tonight.
So real quick here, Vince calls this crowd a capacity crowd. I mentioned 25,000. It's half full, the Skydome. Does Vince just have issues with lying about attendance in general, or
well, here's the other part of that story. It may not have been Skydome capacity, but it may have been capacity for how we set it up to sell tickets at the last minute for TV. So there's a lot of ways that could be sliced and evaluated, but I don't. It sounds like we're saying, well, business wasn't very good. There was only 25,000 people there, whatever it was. And it was about a half a house. The half house, that's what it may have been set for. I'm not real sure. I don't remember those particular details. We got Flash Funk and Savio Vega. These 2 guys are a lot more talented than they're given credit for, I can tell you. Flash Funk was very innovative. He was doing shit that the smaller guys do now a lot. He had no problem creating offense off his feet. And then Savio was just one of the best. I say all the time, what's the main thing you want in a wrestler? Reliability. And Charles there, I think his name was Charles Skaggs. He was really athletic, a good guy. He got to us, there's Clarence Mason, who actually was a lawyer, I think. Anyhow, Savio just was a pleasure to be around. His work was solid. He's tough. You couldn't get too much heat for him. He loved it. And he had no fear.
Yeah, he's part of the nation here. When he came down and did that interview with you, you could see a young D'Lo Brown behind him in the tuxedo. I thought that was fun. But here he is now again with Flash Funk, who some WCW fans would know as Too Cold Scorpio.
Right.
And they're doing their thing in the ring here.
These two guys had good chemistry.
And this is the beginning of their tour. Yeah, go ahead.
The referee got right on his count, which I really appreciated. He let them do their thing. The thing with Jack Dolan's referee there, he should have been verbally spanking Savio for his cheating. That gives Scott Savio more time to cheat more. Jack went right for the count right there. See what I'm saying?
I do.
And he's also breaking on the right. And Savio's right-handed. You never want to do that. You always want to break to a right-handed striker on the left so you don't get the elbow in the teeth.
JR, another AFS My Push member, Yambag Jones, had a question here about Savio and Flash, and he said, who was more underrated in your opinion, Savio or Flash Funk?
Probably Savio. Yes, the main part of the roster, the Undertakers, etc., Austin's, they would, I think, say the same thing. Savio was very underrated. He had all the qualities you wanted as a heel. He could feed a comeback, take some bumps, as you're getting ready to see here, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah.
Nice backdrop. Got good elevation. The crowd is starting to wake up from their nap.
Yeah, the crowd seems a little dead here for sure, but hopefully they will, as you said, wake up from their nap. Flash is trying to bring them to their feet. Hopefully we'll see a big spot here, something exciting. And it was also commented too. One of the things of note is, with these guys traveling to the north of the border, they're starting a long run here as far as a tour. And some of them maybe look a little sluggish. I'm not seeing it out of these two guys, though. They're putting in the effort. And here goes Flash to the top rope.
Big guy. He's about 230. And he had good body control. The other thing you got to remember, folks, is that Flash, he completes that move, but he didn't kill his adversary. He didn't squash and potato him. That's how good he is at those type of things. To be able to do that at that size and not maim your adversary is pretty talented.
Wow. And there goes Flash Funk off the top rope to the outside of the ring, taking out D'Lo, and big kick to D'Lo Brown.
D'Lo, the former Maine Black Bear, defensive end.
And here goes Flash for his moonsault, and nobody's home, JR.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to do it here. 1, 2, 3 for Savio.
Nice match.
4 minutes, 21 seconds. Meltzer gave it a half a star. He's not really high on this card so far. I don't think Dave was a big WWF fan at this point. I don't know what's going on here.
Well, he has an opinion. That's what I've always said. Clarence Mason, Clarence Darrow, and Perry Mason. That's where the name came
from. Okay. I like it. Perry Mason.
You don't get this at Conrad.
You don't. This is. I get the reference.
Or any of those other yahoos. This is inside stuff. There's
the Golden Child.
Crush. There's Damn. So the heels kept some heat.
Let's hear what we got coming up here.
Tag War. Plus the Intercontinental title up for grabs as the Wild Man Marc Mero takes on Hearst Helmsley. But up next, the former WWF champion Psycho Sid.
Oh, we're going to have to hear this.
Bait and switch about an upcoming title match. No, we guaranteed 2 of them tonight. Plus, ladies and gentlemen, Ahmed Johnson teaming up with The Undertaker against Mankind and Farooq. But right now, let's take you to JR.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time is perhaps the most dominating physical
my
athlete
goddamn hat's
in the
all
history
screwed up.
of the World Wrestling Federation. Please welcome Psycho Sid.
JR, was that one of those real nice black cats that you found, that company around Oklahoma? Is that one of I forget the name of them. Okay.
No, I hadn't graduated to the good hats yet.
Okay. All right. Here comes Sid. This is you and him, middle of the ring. Should be good.
His ass.
If he can remember his lines, it'll be good.
Sid was a good communicator. If he didn't have to remember lines, he was a lot better.
That's true. The pressure's on when you have things that you have to remember.
Just like today, Paul.
Yep.
Talents today, they got to memorize the script and pause here and whatever, segue there.
Ugh.
It's unnatural. And then when you give the fans something that is so distastefully unnatural.
Yeah, disingenuous. Yeah.
But sometimes they don't buy it.
Here we go.
The history of Monday night. Joining us, ladies and gentlemen, right here tonight, Royal Rumble Raw. And many of them coming just to see this man.
Vince loves his look, and why could you not?
Yeah.
He's a prototypical monster heel.
Completely intimidating, this guy.
Yeah.
On Thursday, Raw Thursday.
You know, I was taking my life in my own hands
I'd
here.
like to ask you a question about the WWF champion. Before we do, it all started at the Survivor Series. When you walked into Madison Square Garden and you became the World Wrestling Federation champion. And then in less than 30 days, you went to West Palm Beach, Florida, and you beat a legend in Bret the Hitman Hart. But it all ended for you at the Royal Rumble. Fate is a funny game. So what I want to ask you right now, in your gut, Sid, what do you feel? What do you really feel personally about the WWF champion, Shawn Michaels?
See, I've heard Shawn say it himself. The relationship him and I have, it's a weird one. It's a roller coaster, up and down, mentally, physically, and emotionally. You can say it's a friendship maybe on the edge of madness. With saying that, I feel safe to say that even Shawn Michaels would agree that evil is just that. It is evil. And sometimes we mistaken it for happiness. Maybe in my case, evil showed up at Survivor Series. And in your case, Shawn Michaels, maybe evil showed up at the Royal Rumble. But when this roller coaster ride is over, Shawn, when it is over, it has come up and has come down, and the ride comes to a halt, and the smoke clears, I will be standing the man. I will be standing the man, and the master, and the ruler.
Oh, my goodness. Who knows what's going to happen tonight?
Jim, I'm not really sure about the roller coaster promo there.
I think he's trying to infer powerbomb.
Oh, I was like, what in the figgity fuck? And you know what? It's interesting because they played his music for the first part of his interview, which you don't hear that very often. It was that scary ring, ring, ring playing in the background as you were interviewing him. They never do that. I thought that was kind of fun.
Well, you got to, again, I'll try to make this clear. All the elements to do a television show take a few days to put together. We didn't have a few days to put it all together. So some of the things you're pointing out, we were just totally unable to make work.
But I actually kind of thought it was cool because it gave it kind of a psycho-ish feel to him talking was my point there. I actually kind of enjoyed it. And here we're doing a little bit of review on what happened with the Rumble and Owen Hart throwing out his then tag team championship partner, Davey Boy. Let's hear him.
Did at the Royal Rumble. It's every man for himself. I accidentally eliminated him. I was trying to put out Stone Cold and Bulldog fell out. So let's drop that issue.
All right, well, notwithstanding that, and then, Bulldog, when you were outside, this is the way you responded to your brother-in-law, Owen. That's right, you called him an idiot.
That's right. I saved Owen from Stone Cold putting him aside, and he put me over the top rope. I told you it's an accident. I don't need you calling me an idiot. I don't need you. I'll be your putting me outside the ring. Play your cards right, and I can take you right to the top like I've done before. But don't be calling me no idiot.
No scripts, no writers on this one.
You put me over the top rope on purpose, Owen.
You think these guys can remember their lines? Are you shitting me?
I think they did a pretty good job.
Oh, yeah, they're great, but they just were natural. They were just talking. And Owen was leading the charge. Much underrated promo guy. Very much underrated.
We're going to transition here, JR, into a tag team match with Owen and Davey Boy, but I wanted to put a bow on Sid with him. And I have to ask, was anyone ever considered in terms of a mouthpiece or managerial type for Sid during this run of his career?
Of course. And it was discussed thoroughly. I think, if I remember correctly, and this is a stretch perhaps, it was Sid's idea to talk on his own.
Okay.
Because he's a smarter businessman than he looks. No disrespect to Sid. I don't even come up here from Tennessee and kicking my ass, but bottom line is he wanted to be the total package. He wanted to be the guy. I'm not talking about being Lex Luger. He wanted to have everything he needed, all the tools in his box to get him to the top where he could stay there. And one of those things was how effective the promos would be. He thought he could do the promos effective enough and let it rock and roll. I brought in LaFon and Furnas. I was really high on them.
I was hoping you would talk a little bit about them. I know they were in Smoky Mountain. Jim Cornette was a fan of them. Talk about a little bit why you were just big fans of their work. Did you?
Well, they were just cohesive. They had so many outings. They had been regular tag team partners for a long, long time, so they were seamless in their execution. Of course, Doug Furnas, the late Doug Furnas, one of the strongest men in the world, was from my home state of Oklahoma. As a matter of fact, he's from Commerce, Oklahoma, which is there was another famous athlete from there named Mickey Mantle. So he's a Okie. And Phil, of course, was a French Canadian, I believe. They were very good, and they had the trust of Owen and Davey. Owen and Davey knew how good their opponents were this night.
Did LaFon and Furnas, JR, really have a chance to get over in the WWF as you think about them as a team?
Well, I think they could get over, meaning to WrestleMania main event level or to
tag team champions for, always be in the title chase, title hunt, or carrying the belts.
I think so. I don't know why not. Neither one were great talkers, and that held them back a little bit. But they're damn sure good guys, hardworking dudes.
You saw the controversy, you heard the, what was going on as far as the Rumble, and we're building to Owen and Davey for the European title. But at this point, do you know the Hart Foundation deal is going to be happening, or is the plan to just split these two as of now?
I don't remember I think at some point it was all about getting everybody back together with Bret.
Okay. That
made the most sense. That's how I would have booked it. And it doesn't mean it's right. It just mean I liked it. And the thing about it is that Davey and Owen could use the rub and get a little shine. The tag team division was not red hot. And then putting Pillman eventually in that group and Anvil, that helps them too. And they had abilities that were underutilized. Short arm scissors, you don't see that very often.
Jim, this match is actually one of the longer matches on the card. It's going to go about 14 or 15 minutes. And as we watch the match take place here, I'll ask you a few more questions that came in from some of our members. Chris Mason says, Jim, how exciting was it to take the weekly television to such a huge venue?
Well, it was exhilarating. Yeah, it's exhilarating. Your environment has pretty much everything to do with the overall presentation of the show. The announcers are feeding off that natural ambience and the crowd reactions and things like this where the guys are, look at it. Furnas has got so much explosion. Owen takes his licks and gets the hell out of there. Mark of a great heel. But this is a good, I love this pairing. I thought, Doug's was just an amazing athlete. It's not just strength. He played football at Tennessee. He's a competitive power lifter. Lived there. I think he lived in San Diego. But it was nice to have him around. We could talk about Oklahoma and cornbread and pinto beans, things like that.
Barbecue.
A little barbecue talk. It's
Nice.
Part of our heritage.
There you go. Nice headlock into the head scissors. Robert Palmer, no, not the one that's addicted to love, but a member of AFS, says, we know that JR is a huge OU fan.
Is he that guy with a high voice that does those commercials about the refinancing?
I don't believe it's the same one.
Eyebrows are all waxed up and slick. I guess not.
It's not him.
What does Robert Palmer want?
Robert Palmer, he said, I know you're a huge OU fan, JR. Which pro teams in all sports does he follow, and which wrestlers are diehard fans of teams? Does JR have any good stories of watching games with the boys? So this is more of a general question as we watch this tag team affair. But he wants to know, yeah.
It's actually 3 questions.
It is. He went off the rails a little bit.
NFL team are the ones that have the Sooners on it. So, for example, Joe Mixon, Cincinnati is a Sooner. So I won't be rooting against Cincinnati. And Los Angeles has got a couple of Sooners. So what I've tried to do over the years, I follow the Jags because I live here, and I get great seats at the right price for the games. Thanks to Tony Khan, who's taken good care of me the last almost 3 years now. But the OU guys influenced a lot of my passion. The football is a popular thing with a lot of guys in our roster. AEW, they were very prominent in WWE because I hired a bunch of guys that had football backgrounds. I always thought that worked. So I don't know what the other part of the question was.
Before I get to that, so JR, you're trying to tell me you weren't enjoying when Britt Baker was taking all those shots at Baker Mayfield the other night on Dynamite? The Baker that wins.
I thought it was entertaining for what her role and what she was and all those things. But yeah, it was good stuff. I mean,
yeah, that was good.
She doesn't mind getting heat.
I know.
And I think that's admirable for her. Britt Baker's the baddest bitch on the block. She's a big, big asset to AEW. There's no doubt about that.
Robert Palmer. He wants to know which wrestlers are diehard fans of teams. Anybody stand out in your mind?
Well, the guys that had home bases in Atlanta were Falcon fans. There were guys like Mark Henry, for example, was a Cowboys fan. A lot of it depended on where you grew up. And a lot of these guys were fans of their favorite pro team before they got into wrestling. So it was a mixture, to be honest with you. Most of the guys are uneducated at football, just like the teams that were winning.
Gotcha. They're just whoever's winning right now. Patrick Mahomes, well, he's not winning right now. They didn't win yesterday. Well, does JR have any good stories of watching games with the boys? Do you remember? Well, I'm sure you've watched a lot of, like you said, Jaguar games with some people lately.
Well, I watched Jaguar games with Chris Jericho, and I watched them with Adam Cole and Britt Baker.
Baby.
Yeah. So those guys, since I moved to here on the beach, there's an inside cradle.
Inside cradle, yeah.
That's a good hold. People look at it as lazy. It's not lazy. It's good wrestling. So Furnas is selling well, but I've back in the Mid-South days, man, we didn't get time off to do shit. So
have you ever been to a Super Bowl, JR?
Yes, I have. I've been to several of them. I went to the famous game where the Falcons had a 28-3 lead, I think it was.
Oh no!
And Brady, who my wife detested, my late wife hated Tom Brady because she's a Steelers fan.
There you go.
And she saw too many. I like this psychology.
Look, roll up. That's right. And there it is. The bump. The Davy boy knocks him out. He's going to be pissed.
He probably thinks Owen did it.
Yep. Continues that story. And there he goes, Owen yelling at him. What are you doing? Let's see if we can unmute some of this here.
Oh, wait a minute. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We'll get this under control.
Playing out to the break.
Royal Rumble Raw. We are emanating
from the Skydome in Toronto, Canada. Some 25,000 plus fans on end when we left you. Owen Hart and the British Bulldog having their differences, as they certainly have had in the past recently. But apparently now getting it back together. And Doug Furnas.
They continue to yell at each other.
Well, here's the cover and a count in.
But it added a good wrinkle and an interesting element to the storytelling. And without overdoing it, it was clear, as we're both saying, there's a trouble in paradise here with Davey and Owen. Boy, that's the strength right there. A belly-to-belly overhead suplex. Now, sure, it's got a different name today. It's either got a Hispanic name or a Japanese name. But I look at it as a belly-to-belly overhead suplex, and it worked out really well. But it takes a lot of strength. And Furnas popped his hips, which is what you have to do. And it worked out really well.
We get the hot tag on both ends. And here comes LaFon. He's got them both in the ring. Double noggin knocker.
Phil LaFon was a lot like Vader in as much as that his body was starting to break down. He got hurt here working for us. Nice roll through.
Earl Hebner, your referee. Oh, nice snap suplex. Hebner again with a 2. But, man, you're right. Technically, these guys were sound, and this is a good wrestling match between these 4 gentlemen. Oh, roll over into the DDT. As Vince would say, what a maneuver. Foot on the rope.
Nice heel move by Owen to put his foot on the bottom rope. LaFon and Furnas think they won. They didn't. As the referee's pantomiming. There's an inside cradle, and here comes Davey.
Davey laying in the lumber with the big kicks into the armbar. I'll read the review here as, nice savate kick. Sweet Stan Lane-esque, but to the face. And Davey Boy breaks up the pin. Meltzer would say, Phil LaFon and Doug Furnas beat Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith. I know I'm spoiling it. Listen, this happened 25 years ago. Via count out. So we're going to see a count out here in this match. It does go 14 minutes, 30 seconds. But here's what I wanted to share, JR. Furnas was suffering from the flu. So he's sick. We talked about Vader with pneumonia. Furnas now has the flu. Match wasn't what you'd expect from the 4, but it was still decent. I think this is a good match. Much of it was teasing the eventful Hart and Smith breakup. Finish was a bad one on a night filled with bad ones. Smith accidentally backdrop Owen, which we just saw, over the top rope, and he was counted out on the floor, so the titles didn't change hands. We're watching it now. Hebner's counted. He's rung the bell. This match is over. They did an angle where Owen was faking his knee injury in front of Smith, but dancing behind his back, giving the impression he took the count out to keep the title on purpose. 2.25 stars. Let's listen in as they go to the end of this match in the replay.
Banner submission. Take a look at this, JR. Well, the Bulldog had his eyes off of the action. He took for granted it was going to be LaFon going over the top, and it was Owen Hart who apparently has twisted his knee. Yes, and wait a minute, there's he's running, and his knee's all right now. And now, is it all right? I think we've just been duped.
Well, flared back up on it.
I'm not so sure about that. And here comes the Bulldog to have a conversation with Owen Hart. Do you think Owen Hart was intentionally counted out? Saving the title? I think Owen's trying to sell us a bill of goods. And I'm not too sure the Bulldog's buying.
Or Owen's been asking for a timeout for 10 minutes.
A timeout when the match is over.
Oh, please, give me a break. Standing by right now, ladies and gentlemen, Ahmed Johnson.
Ahmed Johnson. Oh, look at him.
Right now, let's take
Owen's being very mischievous behind Bulldog's back.
The ending of the Rumble. Here we go, JR. No. Oh, my God. That's the biggest 2x4 I've ever seen.
It takes a brave man like Ron Simmons to take a 2x4 shot from Ahmed Johnson.
It's like Ahmed's compensating for something there with that large 2x4.
Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, Ahmed Johnson.
Here we go. This will be classic.
Teaming up later tonight to square off against Mankind and the leader
Did he have
of
a
the
great
Nation
look?
of Domination,
Absolutely.
Farouk. And of course, Ahmed.
Come over and watch him and
remembers
rename
that
him
unbelievable one-on-one encounter will
We all
have
had
started out
this
that
deal
way
that
with
would not
Farouk
work.
at the Royal Rumble.
You think you see some Royal Rumble, Vince McMahon? You ain't seen nothing yet. This is just beginning.
Well, Ahmed, right here last week on Raw, we saw you on the hunt. You were chasing the Nation of Domination. You broke down a door. You chased their automobile off the premises. What's in store for the Nation of Domination tonight?
You know what, JR? I got something in store for everybody, including you and Vince. Because guess what? I don't take my Prozac anymore. And I got a Prozac. Brother, you don't know what might happen to you.
And what about this Nation of Domination?
That may be true,
continues
by
to
the way.
grow. Savio Vega turned his back on you as well.
Savio! You want to join him? Join him! But I promise you, you will pay with all the rest!
Well, Ahmed.
What in God's name? He's off his Prozac, JR. Look out.
I think it need to have closed captioning because I didn't understand a goddamn word he said.
I didn't either. He just went nuts. All I understood was Prozac, and that was probably the hardest word he said. Ay, ay, ay. Well, up next, we have Crush against, I believe. And did you like, oh no, he's back. Listen.
Farooq a little bit later on tonight. What about it?
First on the way to the quarter circle, then let the party begin.
You want to oh! Uh-oh.
Look, dead man, you won't be dead enough to touch me again.
If you go now, you go alone. If you wait, we'll bury them together.
There are big problems in that locker room. Will The Undertaker be able to restrain Ahmed? Stay with us.
Will he be able to, JR? We get to find out here today. I can't wait.
Wait, baby.
In your house, the Final Four, it's coming. Someone's going to win the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Oh,
that will emanate from Chattanooga.
That's right.
We may have this, we may have that. No, folks, you've got it tonight. From Skydome in Toronto, Ahmed and The Undertaker.
I was hoping we would catch one of those. So he's done that. Vince has said that already a few times on this show in reference to WCW. The whole, we're not going to bait and switch you.
Oh.
So that was kind of his thing there with the old WCW inference, which, you know, this would happen back in those days between both brands.
Yeah, now you got Mickie James in the Royal Rumble. How things have changed.
How cool was that, JR? They let her win the belt and put the Impact graphic on the screen. I don't know if you caught that or not, but I couldn't believe they let her wear the Impact title.
I selectively tuned in to the Royal Rumble because I'm a wrestling fan, and I was here at home alone, so I thought, let's check this out. I was so proud for Mickie. She's one of my favorite ladies that I've worked with in my career. She's very passionate in it. And I still think she has a wealth of sex appeal, which never hurts.
I'm with you.
Speaking of sex appeal.
My goodness. I was going to say, I know about all this Goldust presentation, but my favorite part of the presentation was that young lady right there, Marlena. My goodness.
She invented that role and refined it. And then Dustin keeps reinventing himself.
True.
It's the same guy you see, 20-something plus years later in an AEW ring.
And he's still doing it at a high level, JR.
Oh, yeah. He's a master. Dustin may be a better quote unquote worker today than he was as we're watching right now, to be honest with you. And he wasn't a bad worker here.
Because you know why because he's even smart. He's so much smarter now. I mean, and he can still put it together physically.
And he doesn't have any issues.
Yeah.
Today, he doesn't have, drug or alcohol or whatever. He's issue free, and I'm so proud of him. He won that war.
Speaking of which, talk a little bit about Crush at this point. Thoughts on him and where he was in his character, and we see him here obviously fighting Goldust. What were your thoughts on Crush?
Well, Crush was a big athletic guy who, luckily for him, was very close with Undertaker and Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love. And so they took pretty good care of him. But I always thought that Brian Crush could have been a lot more than he was. I really did. He had to be motivated. So depending on who he was working with and where and why and how and all that, you might have got a different Crush. But he's big and strong.
It just seemed like to me as a fan, yes, he became the third member of Demolition, and then he became like the Orange Crush or whatever, Crush the Hawaiian, whatever that kind of gimmick was. Then he transitioned into this, just kind of lost his way or his gimmick. I don't know. And then here we see Triple H making his way down to the ring.
He had an issue going with Goldust, I think.
He did. He's got an ongoing storyline at this time with Goldust, and he's going to be the cause, I think, of what ends this match up here. Oh, Hunter, only to see where you would end up with your career in life. If we only could see it at this point, no one saw that coming.
He's a natural heel. He wanted to be a heel. He felt like a heel. He had mannerisms of a heel. And a lot of that philosophical stuff of being a pro wrestling villain, I think Hunter acquired some of those traits from the guy that trained him, Killer Kowalski, who was known as one of the great heels of all time.
With Triple H interfering here at this point, is China in 97 here, January 97? Is she on your radar at this point?
Paul, I don't remember.
Okay.
China was brought into the fold by Hunter and Shawn. And then, of course, they had access to Vince. And Vince automatically, to make those guys happy, decided to take a longer look at Joni. I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. She was unique. She looked different. She'd been training with men.
I'll never forget the moment that she ragdolled that young lady at ringside right there, Marlena, grabbed her around the waist and just treated her like a rag doll.
That's one of those moments, you know.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to see it in slow motion and see all that blonde hair going crazy and all that stuff.
How did she not break her? My goodness.
Got to hand it to Terry Runnels for going for it and having the courage to do it. Because she was not a trained wrestler.
No.
So, it's not a big deal. She's just shaking her a little bit. That's all well and good, unless it's you getting it done to you and you don't have any training.
Started as a makeup artist, right? Down in WCW with Turner?
Yeah, she was Larry King's makeup artist for years and years. And she moonlighted as the makeup person for WCW. She did my makeup every week and others.
Tony Schiavone talks about his, Terry Boatwright, that's where he met her.
Yeah, she did a real good job there. She worked there a long time as a makeup person.
Crush and big Dustin getting into it here. Nice belly to belly suplex here from Crush. Two big guys, both athletic. And Dave Meltzer would say Crush looks menacing standing there, but he said he's a total zip once the bell rings. And Goldust is dying so far as a face. He said this is a dud match. Do you think he's kind of just, when we talk about Goldust, according to Meltzer, is he stuck in a rut as a baby face at this point in your mind?
No, I don't think he's stuck in a rut. I think that he just was, this is not the best booking for Goldust. Quite honestly. Crush is hard to work with when he wanted to.
Big back body drop here. Let's listen to a little bit of the audio here as we get into the end of this match.
And Crush missing with the elbow from the other side. There you go, DDT, that could do it right there.
Goldust has the opportunity right now, at this moment in the contest, to perhaps put Crush away. But Goldust having trouble capitalizing and following up.
Goldust, couple of right hands there coming off underneath the clothesline, a tip from the other side, a clothesline in his own right. Now Goldust picking up momentum. Goldust with Crush. Savio Vega looking on, as well as the other members of the Nation of
You
Domination.
noticed that Hayes wanted to say something there a minute ago.
I did.
Vince interrupted. And that was the rule. You talk when Vince wasn't. Pretty simple. It's like me doing Mid-South wrestling. I talked on Mid-South when Cowboy took a breath. But I learned a lot listening to him, to be honest with you.
JR, that's exactly how I work with you here, buddy. When you take a breath is when I talk. Sometimes I start talking too soon, but that's my role too, man. Let you say it. We're here to hear you. And here we go. Savio Vega. He just did a run in, interfered. We got the heart punch. Boom! Right in Dustin's chest.
Shades of Stan the Man Stasiak.
There you go. And the 1, 2, 3, and this one is over. Crush pins him with a heart punch, according to Meltzer. Outside interference from Vega. Really bad, according to Meltzer. Well,
he's having a rough night, isn't he?
He hates this card. We're not getting any Dave Meltzer love on this 25th anniversary.
Oh, shit. That's disheartening.
So there we go. And now here we got a little bit of a promo here. Let's listen to this one.
Dominating team that ever stepped into the ring. The black glove, anyone gets in their way. The black claw, they're not gonna like it.
The late Jack Lanza.
At all costs, that's all that matters. Blackjacks will ride again, hard and fast. Don't say I didn't warn you.
I think Jack's taking a leak in the fire.
Oh, let's hear what's still to come.
The Undertaker and Ahmed Johnson collide. They'll get it on with Mankind and Farooq.
But up next, Shawn Michaels, the WWF champion, is the hitman far behind.
This is going to be good. We might get a little good audio stuff here. So the new Blackjacks, this is the hope to really start Bradshaw's career and save Wyndham's. Is that the goal here with that group, JR?
Yeah, we needed to do something with those guys that makes some sense. We had Jack Lanza at all the TVs and on most of the house shows. He was our lead agent. So you're looking for lightning in a bottle. We didn't have a guarantee that all was going to be right with the world when JBL and Barry got together. I will tell you, I was very optimistic about that duo. And I was intrigued by what they might become. You just try to find guys, get them on the field and in the position that they can best play. And that's kind of what we were doing there, without question.
Well, here we go. This is what Dave Meltzer calls the best part of the show. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
It's Shawn Michaels with his stripper vest outfit coming down with that winged eagle, which, by the way, plug for Title Chase on adfreeshows.com. Conrad knocked it out of the park, JR. I know you're not a belt nerd or a belt mark, but he did an exclusive event called Title Chase, a documentary, if you will. It's WWE Network worthy, man. I'm telling you. And it was all about the history of that belt that is around Shawn Michaels' waist. I can't recommend it enough. He goes through just not the belt, but who held it, the different iterations of the title. It's definitely worth becoming a member to listen.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go to some of this because this is again, like I said, this is a big part of the show here.
We got a big we got a great staff that's able to help Conrad put stuff like that together.
Chris McDonald and oh my goodness, the video production, first class.
Well, I always liked Michael McDonald.
He's good too, good singer. You know. Let's now. Mind you, this is just a few days away of him losing his smile. Here we go.
I got bumped from the key interview.
Okay, yes, you did. This is Vince time.
Damn it, hell.
As far as Bret Hart is concerned,
Shawn Michaels, here in this partisan crowd
of Toronto, Bret Hart country, and we'll get to Bret in a moment. I'd like for you, if you would, to respond to the comments made earlier by the former WWF champion, the man whom you defeated in San Antonio, Psycho Sid. Sid made reference to the fact that, in essence, he was saying this championship brings out the evil in everyone, and I wonder if you would address that.
Well, you know, had you asked me 6, 8 months, a year ago, I'd have told you that this belt represents everything that is good in the World Wrestling Federation. Now, things are a little bit different. I find that what Sid says, even though he's a little bit wacky and a few cards short of a full deck, I find Sid to be exactly right. The fact of the matter is, this belt has brought out the worst in some of the World Wrestling Federation superstars, and to be perfectly honest, I am one of them. But, hold on there, Vin, man, I'm not through yet. You know better than put a live mic in front of me. The fact is, I said it before and I'll say it again, if being bad is what you have to be the World Wrestling Federation champion, then I'll be the worst guy that the WWF has ever seen. Now, to comment on this partisan crowd, turnabout is fair play, I believe. I got my jollies in San Antonio, and all the people of Canada have a chance to share their appreciation for their guy, Bret Hart, and if that's what they want to do, that's quite all right with me. I've won the most popular contest enough times that I don't worry about being popular anymore. I worry about being number one, because that's what this belt and that's what these people have brought out of the Heartbreak Kid.
As far as Bret Hart is concerned, I know you two obviously don't see eye to eye, and Bret has had some pretty harsh things to say about you, and I wonder, even in Canada, would you respond to some of the things Bret has had to say about you?
Certainly. See, I'm very used to being disliked, because when you've got this and you're honest, people tend to dislike that. Everybody hated Muhammad Ali while he was the world champion. Now, everyone refers to him as the greatest of all time. Bret, you can be the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, if that's what you want to call yourself. One thing you will not call yourself right now is the World Wrestling Federation champion.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
I understand.
Here comes the
that.
hitman.
Nonetheless.
This is something people came to see. Everything else is just a prelude to this moment.
JR, what's your favorite phrase you say? Business is about to pick up.
Yeah.
Yep, here we go.
Bret.
Muhammad Ali, I don't think so. Dennis Rodman, maybe.
You could feel it in the ring. They didn't like each other.
I try to like you, but I find it harder and harder and harder all the time. You know, when I think of all the things I've said about you, I think you capped it best yourself when you called yourself a degenerate And you may pride yourself on being able to be a complete
That wasn't a bad house
jackass.
for a spontaneous, thrown together TV shoot.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, we don't have to like it. As far as I'm concerned, you're nothing but a punk.
It's going to be a fight here.
You can stop me anytime you want to.
Okay, then I'll stop you now. I'll be a jackass, I'll be a degenerate, I'll be whatever you want, and I'll also be the heavyweight champion of the world.
Here's Austin.
Oh my God.
Steve Austin attacking Bret Hart, just like Bret attacked Austin earlier tonight. We've got another fight here. They're not going to wait until the final four, and Shawn Michaels is observing it all. Look at Austin.
They're laying their
And
shit
Bret
in
Hart
too,
fighting
boy.
again.
This is awesome.
Right here comes Psycho Sid. Psycho Sid is coming to the ring. Psycho Sid. We've got to take a commercial break.
I love it. We got to get out of here.
Bret Hart is fighting on the outside. Our Sid and Shawn, folks, we got to take a break, but we'll continue to tape. We'll show you the highlights when we come back. Welcome back.
Don't leave, JR. Don't leave.
You haven't missed a thing. Psycho Sid and Stone Cold have been escorted back to the locker room. And we're trying to get ready for the Intercontinental title matchup. We can get these two men to leave the ring. And it's obvious tremendous animosity exists between these two magnificent athletes. All because of what's lying at their feet, the WWF title.
You can feel the energy from the crowd, man.
Yes, building and building, anticipation. Nothing better in pro wrestling than
Oh,
Bret Hart stepping on
anticipation.
WWF title belt.
That's right.
To the delight of this
One
strongly
thing make it
partisan
better,
crowd
Party
here in
Sunday.
Toronto. We may have a brawl right here. They may get it on right here tonight on Royal Rumble Raw. Referees are trying to talk Bret into returning the belt, showing a little sportsmanship here.
middle finger to Shawn Michaels.
No love lost between these two. And the WWF champion and that man, Bret Hart, no doubt at some point in time have to settle their differences. You can tell we're in Toronto. These fans here, they love Bret Hart. Not to say that Shawn Michaels doesn't have his fans here as well.
All right, so there we go, the big music. So I have a few things to cover off with you here, JR, some of which is from The Observer. So I did mention that Meltzer said the best part of the show was the Shawn Michaels-Bret Hart confrontation. It was acknowledged that this was in Bret's hometown, obviously. I mean, this is the entire country of Canada is, obvious. So to explain Michaels being booed, and by the way, as I'm reading this to you, we see a big contract signing, which you and I discussed Royal Rumble 1997 earlier. Look, there's Bruce Pritchard.
I only hope that with the grace of God, with the support of all my countrymen, the best fans in the world, I hope that one day, along the allegiance of the great Bret Hart, to carry the flag, the Canadian flag, to even newer and greater heights.
Well, buddy, that didn't happen. Tiger Ali Singh, right?
Yeah. I remember sitting in Vince's office to come up with his name, and his dad was a big part of that. Tiger, of course, is after his father, Tiger Jeet Singh. The Ali was an obligatory remark or a name because it was so respected globally.
He didn't pan out, JR, but as I want to talk here because now we're coming to Triple H versus Marc Mero in the ring here. But Meltzer said that as Shawn Michaels comes out before that whole confrontation, Jim Ross said he wasn't bald and he doesn't make promises he can't keep, apparently in reference to Hogan not wrestling Piper on the other station. Hart came out to the big face pop and actually outshined Michaels in this segment. Just as it appeared they were going to come to blows, Austin jumps Bret and they brawled while Michaels just stood there, which we saw. This shot at Hogan and Piper, is that you going on your own? Is Vince feeding you? Is that just, do you remember anything about how that type of thing?
I just remember it was discussed because we didn't have Vince in our ear. So, but it was discussed before the show. And you wait for a spot that fits and get it in if you can. There's Sable.
Yeah, there's Sable. They're showing some highlights there. And then we'd have Shawn. We obviously heard him compare himself to Muhammad Ali. Bret calls Shawn a degenerate, which, by the way, that's tremendous foreshadowing for what we would know to come as Degeneration X. And we had the crazy melee. Melee, there it is, again, at the end of that one. And before the show, by the way, they had that in-ring segment. We'll get to that now, which had all that signing of Tiger Ali Singh with a major push that they wanted to push him in Canada and overseas. And
India was his calling card. That's where the first destination was going to be, to get him over in India, because there was a lot of money in India. TV money, rights money, all those things. Live event touring.
And then fast forward to this. Here we are. It's Hunter Hearst Helmsley against Marc Mero. And apparently Sable was recovering from surgery at this point, which is why Mero missed shows the weekend prior. You don't happen to remember anything about that, do you, JR? Or potentially?
Surgery?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what part of her anatomy she had issues with. I can guess, but I don't know.
At this point, LaFon Nikita is coming up next, which we're seeing here.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be something about Nikita Koloff in drag, but it was not.
Speaking of, well, listen, you know, as we watch Hunter and Marc Mero do their thing here in the ring, going back and forth, Hunter, it seems like, you know, he's getting the better here. These two in the ring, though, were always working well together. I remember watching matches of these guys. I'm watching this one. I felt like their styles just seemed to mesh well. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Hunter had respect for Mero, which probably surprised some people. But Hunter knew he needed a good match, and that Mero could deliver that if it was a cooperative effort. Plus the fact that you notice that Hunter's not at his full size that he would eventually grow to, and because of that, he fed the comebacks a little bit faster. He had more movement. But I thought these guys had a nice match.
Meltzer would say this is easily the best match on the show. It's a 14-minute match, so it does go on here a little bit. Sable, who we saw in a highlight, she's not here. As I mentioned, she had some surgery. Curtis Hughes, at this point, was Hunter's butler, but he was barred from ringside, and apparently he's been having problems with his high blood pressure at this point, and he was given the weekend off. So
I vaguely remember that. Curtis had some health issues, like falling asleep, just sitting in a chair. You know, it's nothing to laugh about. He's such a good guy. Former defensive tackle at K-State, Kansas State.
He's lost a lot of weight. Last time I saw him at a signing, he's definitely trimmed down since his days.
Happy for him. He's got a wrestling school, I think, in Atlanta.
At this
nice job.
Yeah, at this point, though, I think he was done at this point in terms of wrestling, becoming a butler.
Well, that'll do it for you.
Yeah.
No returning for that butler role.
Once you don the butler jacket, they're telling you you're not coming back as a star anytime soon. But we got a good matchup going on here, JR. Standing suplex by Triple H, and he's got Marc Mero up there for quite a while. So, again, hot angle with Bret and Shawn, and then right into this match, which you could see star potential, as you have said before, written all over Triple H.
Yeah, I got a little red ass JR here lately when we got a message, a question from one of our folks, and about that they didn't think Hunter was ever a good worker. I said that's got to be one of the most. You may not like him personally, You may not like his choice of dating or whatever the hell you're jealous of, but nobody's ever going to convince me that Triple H wasn't an outstanding worker.
Yeah, JR, that was I was definitely a part of it. That was Royal Rumble 97. I remember us doing that show together because you got a little red ass for sure.
Well, it's just stupid. It's just a personal thing. And if it is just a personal thing, then people should have the balls to say that. You can't look at this guy and be a wrestling fan and say he was not a good worker. That's just ridiculous. These guys are working firm, aggressive. Earl Hebner's getting a lot of work tonight.
Yeah, it was actually when we were talking about, and I was just going back to look at what you referred to. It was back to the Royal Rumble match where Triple H was fighting Goldust, and he pinned Goldust for the title. And Meltzer actually says, it's Dave Meltzer. It wasn't one of our fans, JR. Dave Meltzer said, Helmsley has potential, but at this point, he's being pushed only on potential and politics, and because he's got a good head of hair. His work is only slightly better than average, and his interviews and persona are below average.
Well, that's just Dave's opinion. I'm not going to raise hell about a man's opinion. He's got a right to his opinion, and he's very intelligent as Dave. But I had a little bit higher opinion of Triple H than he did.
Well, and Triple H proved him completely wrong, and anybody else I would have thought it at this point. We wish Triple H nothing but a speedy recovery. I know he's still resting and not necessarily involved with the day-to-day anymore.
I wonder if Triple H will go to the Hall of Fame this year. Whew. Interesting question. I don't know.
Certainly deserves it.
Oh, yeah, he's deserving. Just a matter of when and so forth.
There's
Same as Taker.
There's rumors about Taker because with the event being in Dallas, Texas, his home state, Texas. Big match. Big move there from Marc Mero jumping over the top rope with that flip onto. Man, I really liked Marc Mero. I know he didn't.
Mark became, for whatever reason, not overly popular in the locker room with some of the guys and some of the key politicians. I don't really know why, but you know.
He does the circuit now, and every time I've seen him at the conventions and stuff, he couldn't be a nicer guy. Does a lot of good charity work.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He was a great guy then, Paul, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
And maybe for some people's taste, he was too nice.
Nice guys finish
last. If you watch
say.
this match, you say, well, you know, Marc Mero wasn't as bad a worker as I remember him. He wasn't. He worked really hard at his craft to get better. Always is in great shape. He has phoned nothing in here. These two guys have told a nice story, and they should be setting it up for a good finish, it would seem to me.
And if you're looking for an example of how good of a worker he is, look no further than this match here with Triple H.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Meltzer gave it 3.25 stars. This is a Raw television match, so there you go.
I can agree with that. It certainly wasn't one of those, skid marks. It was it was not a 1-star job.
As we're watching this, JR, we didn't really get a chance at the top of the show because we had so many production issues prior to starting, but we really didn't get a chance to catch up with you and how you're feeling and how you've been doing. And I know you're back on the road with AEW, and they're putting out some great shows, some fun shows. How's everything going with you in your world, sir?
Pretty good. I had a doctor's appointment today. I'm going back in 30 days, and which is good because at one point in time I was seeing the doctor daily. Then when I got my treatments all done, I started every other week. And so today we scheduled it for a month. So the doctor's pleased with my healing. My leg has not healed yet. I came back to work about 30 days too early, according to the doctor. It wasn't too early for me. I was ready to go. But yeah, he's pleased with my progress. It's just, he said, you can't let yourself be tricked to thinking that you're healed. You're not.
Is at least the tenderness dying down? I knew you said you were having trouble sleeping, traveling. You had to wrap it when you would fly. Is it still just as tender, or some of that starting to?
Yeah, it's still a little tender.
But
there are less spots on my ankle that are adversely affected.
Good.
So I'm doing better. Thanks for asking. I appreciate everybody's support on that deal.
Hey, we all care. I know the folks listening to this care, and we kind of blew right past the opening. I mean, I wanted to have an opportunity to do that, and this is a little bit of a longer match here as he goes for the cover, and I just wanted to check in, see how you've been making out.
Yeah, that's good. I can't expect it to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect for a while. And my doctor today said it's probably going to be a few months until that spot at my ankle is where all that new skin is being grown.
As long as you're getting good doctor's reports, that's what we're happy to hear too.
My biggest enemy is 2 flights in one day, because the second flight doesn't give it aggravates the swelling of my foot. And there you go.
There it is. Brass knucks, some kind of knucks there. And he hits Marc Mero. Triple H hits him with the knucks. 13 minutes.
I tells you that Vince really had hopes for Mark. Because if I was calling a finish, Triple H would have won with his finish. And that's no disrespect to Marc Mero. If you're too proud or you're not skilled enough to lose your opponent's best stuff, then we got a big problem.
There it is, right from the boot. And that's a great point, JR. The fact that, hey, we're going to have a little bit of a schmoz ending. I don't want to see that clean pin finish on Mark. So,
right. That was protecting Mark.
Let's hear what's up next here from you all on commentary. They go to the Royal Rumble.
Sticking up behind the hitman Bret Hart. Look at it. The King is out. And Bret Hart looks like...
I think we just saw a record broken. I think Lana has just broken a record.
I think he just said it. It takes a king
to know a king, McMahon. I told you. You told us what? It takes a king to know a king.
Unbelievable.
I don't know what sense that made, but it was a nice bump the King took.
He got in, had his moment, and got the hell out, and it was over. There you go.
He made the pay sheet.
That's right. And here's our...
We're getting plenty of Clarence Mason tonight, aren't we?
It's our main event, buddy. Clarence has been out a few times, and it's Farooq with his crew.
Matter of fact, yes, here we go. Here comes Paul Bearer now with Mankind. And, well, Mankind is an unusual tag team partner. He had problems, as a matter of fact, with his own partner, with Vader, just last week. So
what?
Tag team coordination problems, I guess you'd have to say. You wonder what kind of team we're going to have. No if, and, or but. We've got action.
It's coming Thursday the 13th.
Thursday night is my favorite night of the week.
Thursday, Raw. Thursday, Bret Hart.
It's coming.
Real attitude. And this mastodon.
Thank you, doggies. Here we go. Like I said, this is the main event of the show. We are getting Undertaker and Ahmed Johnson, which, by the way, JR, while we're here waiting for them to enter, we did have an ad-free show member ask the question, how unique of a pairing has there ever, and in his word, has there ever been more of an odd couple pairing together than Undertaker and Ahmed Johnson?
Well, I'm sure there has, based on your own perspective. But they're very unique. It was an odd couple.
That came to us from Yambag Jones. Want to make sure to give him a little spotlight there.
That one of Taz's guys. Yambag Jones.
Yambag Jones, yes. I'm sure the name comes from the Taz influence. And here we go to a highlight from last week.
But now I understand that Ahmed Johnson is roaming around backstage area with a 2x4 looking for the Nation of Domination. Welcome back, everyone, to Royal Rumble Raw. We've got Farooq, the Nation of Domination, teaming up with Mankind, a most unusual combination. However, here we go. The Pearl River Powerhouse, Ahmed Johnson, on his way to the squared circle. Take a look at his physical specimen, and look what's in his hand, JR. It's an old-fashioned 2x4. Got that equalizer with him. You better believe it. Those pack of dogs are waiting on him. Ahmed Johnson's not going to the ring empty-handed. No holds barred.
Pearl River Plunge.
Yeah.
We're not going to tease you for an hour and 45 minutes.
Cowboy first laid eyes on him. He was working there with Vince and us, and he really had high hopes. I think sugar plums are dancing in his head in the image of Junkyard Dog.
Here comes the dead man.
It's the ring. 305-pound man with a 2x4. Obviously, discretion is slightly better, a little bit better than than valor, as they say, or something to that effect. And you wonder what kind of team Ahmed and the Undertaker will make. I mean, they had words earlier on. Ahmed out and out threatened the Undertaker, and here comes the Phenom himself.
The Clint Eastwood of WWF.
Nothing like it, JR.
I don't remember where I was. Just somewhere in the WrestleMania 9 time frame. But sitting at ringside and hearing or experiencing this entrance for the first time. Unbelievable. They'd run that cold air in there, and it was just such a cool effect if you're live in the arena.
You're exactly right. There is nothing. I mean, it's cool to watch it on TV. It's cool to see it at WrestleMania, but there's nothing like experiencing it live. Cold chills.
You notice, too, the music. One of the great things about AEW, and there are many of them, number one is that they pay me.
That's a good start, yeah.
It's always a good start, right?
Yeah.
Our music's like Wild Thing from Moxley.
Yes. They pay for the good original music, the Jungle Boy music.
Yeah. CM Punk's music.
Yes. Cult of Personality.
I'm probably leaving somebody out of it, but nonetheless, music's a key element now in the business.
I'm with you.
It's got to be thought of much like you would think of ring attire and things of that nature.
I am all in on what they did on Tony Khan's decision that he kind of changed FTR's music to similar to that Midnight Express feel.
Yeah, me too.
That's so cool.
Hey, FTR's they're bad dudes, man.
I love them. They're my favorite tag team, man. They are throwbacks. They're great.
I love their work ethic and their approach to the game. Yeah, they can. FTR could be on my TV anytime.
Speaking of music, too, you can't forget about Adam Cole's music, man. When that hits, the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
My goodness. You're absolutely right, though. Music is absolutely critical.
It's become a huge element.
Yes. And here we go. These four are going at it. Inside the ring, outside the ring. I'm going to go over some stuff here with you because there's a lot to cover as we close down this edition of Raw. First of all, I'll talk about what happens here with this match. You have Undertaker and Ahmed Johnson beating Farooq and Mankind in a no DQ match. This is going to go 10 minutes, 29 seconds. You can tell it's just a brawl all over the place. You're going to get Vader interfering in the finish. He goes after Taker, but he hits Mankind with a chair. Ahmed Johnson's brawling all over the place with Farooq. Crush D'Lo. Everybody's going to get involved here. Jim Ross is talking about the brawl, saying that those guys aren't has-beens. Again, Meltzer wants to point out any kind of knock that there is towards WCW that would be mentioned at this point. But that's back and forth. It's happening on both sides. This isn't a one-way street.
And it ain't that big a deal. Let's not overthink this deal.
Right.
Come on.
You have Undertaker who pins Mankind after a tombstone on the chair. Mankind does a real good job in this match, including getting a chair in his face from an Undertaker kick and also throwing powder in Undertaker's eyes. Meltzer gives this one 2 3/4 stars. We're going to watch this together. But as we watch it here, this isn't great, but it's better than what the other side is putting out, as you put it. Did those in the WWF, as they watch Nitro and wonder, how in the hell are we losing in the ratings? Were you guys having those conversations? I know this is 25 years ago, Jim, but do you remember that at all?
Conversations. If your game plan isn't producing touchdowns and you're not winning games, would you not review your strategy and who's playing where and who's playing what position? Of course you would. So it's talked about a lot. I miss old Paul Bear, Percy Pringle, Bill Moody.
Percy Pringle. That's how I first knew him, from World Class Championship Wrestling.
Very underrated manager in his day, in any incarnation. Here's that Don Jardine-esque.
Walking the ropes, the big hit. So, JR, speaking of ratings, this show would get a 2.64 rating and a 3.9 share, while WCW is promoting a Hogan versus Piper match on the other channel that never happens, which you guys continually point out throughout the show. Nitro gets a 3.04 rating and a 4.6 share. So just some frame of reference there on how this would all shake out.
We're just going to keep competing. That's what I used to tell all the guys. Go out and bust your ass. Play hard. So now the cast starts to be enlarged here.
We go to commercial. They're doing some highlight reels. Did you, Vince and Michael Hayes, by the way, do the commentary live in studio from the tape? Like, did you go back in, do you remember? And would this be a show? Because this was a recorded show for Raw.
I think we did a lot of it there. Again, that's why I point out there was no Lawler.
Yeah.
And he normally would have been a part of it.
And I think we've talked about this before, JR, as we watch these shows during the Nitro era. I know Howard Finkel was a guy that kind of kept an eye on WCW and watched a lot of what was going on. Would all of you also be paying attention to Nitro during these shows? If this was a tape show, would you watch a little bit of Nitro on a live Monday night?
Didn't care what they were doing.
Okay.
It wasn't going to change my call or my philosophy. If I got to get a dig in, then I get my digs in per instructions.
So Bret Hart, by the way, wrote this in the Calgary Sun at the time, and I have to bring it up to you because I want to hear.
Simmons pulling on Ahmed's tights.
Oh, yeah. He's got a wedgie. We're seeing a lot of butt cheek there.
That was Simmons has been, I'm doing it because I can. And I'm doing it because you can't do a damn thing about it.
It's not Rikishi.
There's only so much room for a whole bunch of bull of the woods. And old Ron would make sure that as far as the African-American contingent in this match, he was the bull of the woods.
He was the man.
Yeah, man.
So back to this Bret Hart Calgary Sun deal. He said over the weekend on his role model, Hulk Hogan, WCW has something far worse than bad referees. They have Hulk Hogan. Hogan lost his flair so long ago that it boggled my mind why people would want to tune into that. Watching myself plod along like Hogan, an old, pathetic embarrassment, would be too much for me to take. When I walk out, whether it's 3 months from now or 3 years from now, I will hold my head high. Perhaps the strongest reason I didn't go to WCW is because I pictured myself getting lost in the shuffle in a deck of cards filled with Hulk Hogan. One thing about the WWF in contrast to WCW is that we almost always take their previous stars and make them brighter, and they take our stars and make them dimmer. I'm sure Diesel and Razor are quickly finding out what it's like to be on the Hulk Hogan show. They smile when they go to the bank, but they cry to themselves when they go to sleep.
What did Dave say about that? Anything?
Dave didn't say anything on that. That was just
because Dave's in love with Bret.
That was just a Bret quote. Yeah,
should have figured that out. And look, and Bret was welcome to say whatever the hell he wanted. You know, I thought the company owed Bret the freedom of speech and wrestling speech that he wanted to execute.
So there was no heat from Vince or anybody else if he were to go out and say that type of thing in an article or a column.
I don't think so. And that's the same philosophy. Yeah. Except Vince is going to say that clearly. A hard 2x4 shot to the ass, always death, just death.
Nothing like a woodshed ass whooping.
Hit him in the butt cheek.
Oh man, that's what my daddy used to do. So JR, Raw eventually moves to 2 hours full time later that month. Do you, as head of talent relations, and my God, what a head of talent relations you were, do you need to start bringing in more talent, or do you have enough talent at this time for a 2 hour show?
Oh yeah, we had enough talent. We had enough talent. There's Big Leon.
Let's listen to a little bit of this because this is getting chaotic here.
Vader beat The Undertaker at the Royal Rumble. They'll meet again in the Final Four. And they're going to, Vader and Mankind, they are teammates. They seem to be getting along.
Here we go now. The Undertaker set up in it. Oh!
The sickening thud.
My God. One of the thousands of chair shots to the head for Mick Foley. Remember,
get over it. Not a boy.
The Undertaker with that chair, he throws it down onto the canvas, and now points at Mankind and signals.
This is it, buddy.
The end.
Tombstone, I bet.
Yep.
There he goes. We got
on the chair.
On the chair.
Good God Almighty.
Perfect execution.
Mankind is out, and this match is
and Mick didn't get killed. Thanks to Undertaker's professionalism.
There he is. They win the match. Taker and Ahmed Johnson, wherever he's at. He's running around getting his butt cheeks beat.
That may have been Taker's request that at the end of the night, when all the dust settles, there's one person standing.
Standing tall.
That would be this guy.
Let's hear as you guys go off the air here.
You ain't seen nothing until you join us for Thursday, Raw Thursday, 1 week from this Thursday night. It's going to be live right here in the USA Network. Keep it here on USA for Thursday, Raw Thursday. So long, everybody.
Or as they could have said, next up, Thursday, Raw Thursday. Titles will be won, smiles will be lost.
Yes, yeah, there you go. Well,
let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com.
There you go.
That was an interesting show. Good backstory. Are we still on?
Oh, we're on, buddy. We're listening to you, man.
Oh, okay. Well, I apologize for that.
That's okay.
But I enjoyed the watch along. I enjoyed the take a look back at that show. That show was thrown together late, and I didn't. I hope I made myself clear on that deal. It's just because we didn't have all the little toys and things that we normally would have at TV. Replays, or I don't remember being challenging. So it was a fun adventure, and for me, living in Connecticut, flying into Ontario was a kind of nice. It was one flight, hour and change, and we'd already knew we bought the advanced ticket sales. We were going to have a good house, a lot of folks. But they came to see one thing: Shawn and Bret. So that's kind of how I looked at that deal. That's why the crowd was up and down. They came to see one thing, and it was a one match or one issue TV show. So it was good stuff. The guys worked hard, and but yeah, we had the guys on the roster that could fill out a 2-hour show easily, because what you could do is some of your better workers, you could very easily have them work 2 segments. Give them some time to tell a story, much like We had Mero and Triple H. They worked 14 minutes. I think, unfortunately for Goldust, he had to go 14 minutes with Crush.
Yes.
Not good. Not a good use of the time, in my opinion. Triple H and Mero, yes. But Crush and Dustin, not so much.
We had that one, and then you had another, I believe, 14-minute match with Philip LaFon and his partner, and going against Owen and Davey Boy. So
yeah.
So listen,
we have the talent to get it done. The question is, we're not going to be blank. We're not going to have a dead screen or what have you. But the issue is, do we have enough talent that are motivated to get over and become main event level stars? Those are questions I had a lot in that era. Some guys had found their comfort zone, and that seemed to satisfy them. They're on TV, and they don't have a lot of pressure on them. So I don't like that environment. They need to be sharp. They need to be hungry, motivated, all that good stuff. And we kept trying to find that. We had the individual ingredients, but we had to get there. And this show was a big step in that direction of where the WWF would soon be headed. As far as a 2-hour show, live 2 hours, that was a huge expense, and a big gamble for Vince. But the 2-hour Raw worked out pretty good. And after 83 weeks, we got back on that. I don't say that. I also don't say that to be a dick to Eric, because Eric's one of our teammates. He's part of the Ad-Free Network.
You just indirectly put a show over by saying 83 weeks. So there you go. That was nice.
No, yeah. Well, I like Eric, and
he's a good guy,
and he's got a great podcast too. So it was just a unique time, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show.
It was, JR. It was fun watching this with you. I enjoy going back. 97, such a big year for the business in general for wrestling. We talked about it when we did the Royal Rumble, and really the kickstart of Stone Cold Steve Austin and his popularity. He wins that Rumble. We now transition into setting up that 4-way. You have Shawn and Bret going at it. We obviously know what would happen in Montreal later in the year between those two. So much happened in 97. So I really enjoyed going back and watching Skydome Raw. The Royal Rumble Raw is what they called it, with you this week. So next week, you and Connie are back together, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun because you're going to be discussing Sting's 1990 to 91 run. We'll be talking about Sting getting kicked out of the Four Horsemen. He blew out his knee. He was you got RoboCop mixed in there, and then
RoboCop.
I knew that would be your highlight, RoboCop.
That was big.
And then he finally beats Ric Flair for that NWA title. You got the Black Scorpion, all kinds of great stuff. And man, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
A lot of real good behind-the-scenes stories in that era, Paul. Ole was the booker, and sometimes that posed some challenges. Not the fact that Ole's booking was abysmal. It wasn't always abysmal. The Black Scorpion was not a bad idea, except that Ole booked the Black Scorpion without a Black Scorpion in mind. So we didn't know who Black Scorpion was going to be. And at the end of the day, of course, it was Nate, still using Ole's manufactured voice. So it wasn't a bad idea. It just wasn't thought out till the end. And I thought that might have been a little bit of a mistake. But other than that, it was good,
And JR, speaking of Sting, by the way, who you're going to cover, you and I get to talk about and see the beginning of Sting. We covered UWF as a bonus podcast on ad-free shows.
Yeah.
And man, I'm telling you, ad-free shows, if you're not a member, it's where it's at this year. Conrad just did a watch-along from Rumble 92 with Ric Flair live with all the members getting to chime in, ask questions. You and I do UWF shows from time to time where we go back and watch your real early days, your glory days.
Yeah.
And we have a blast doing that.
I don't know if my glory days or not, because I sure as hell make a lot more money now than I did then.
Good point. Touche.
So I don't know.
Touche.
Depends on what your definition of glory entails.
Buddy, they were my glory days of you because that's when I first was introduced to you. So maybe I should change that and say that was when I first heard the beautiful melodies of Jim Ross coming across my screen.
Right.
And I thought, my God, he's adding electricity to wrestling. So there you go.
Right now, I'd like to add some barbecue sauce to wrestling.
Oh, my boy, barbecue sauce.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, adfreeshows.com. Check it out. But, JR, tell them about JR's BBQ. Tell them about that barbecue
it's my
sauce.
homegrown website. You know, my mom and my late wife, Jan, created these sauces. And it was their wish that we could make this thing successful. And, of course, the only way to make it successful is to have great customer service, which I think we do. And if you don't, you know, people are very bold. They don't mind tweeting any abnormality into their order as if I work for the post office. But nonetheless, I got my name on it, so I'm taking responsibility.
I love you, JR.
But my mother's original, JR's original sauce is our top seller. And there's a reason for it. It's really, really good. And now people are experimenting with things, the recipes and uses for like the Chipotle ketchup. I had jalapeno honey mustard today. It just makes any sandwich better. It's a healthy sandwich when you got jalapeno honey mustard and like turkey and lettuce and tomato. It's a good little gig, you know.
You're making my mouth water, brother.
Good stuff. So jrsbbq.com. It's right there, and give it a shot, folks.
Support him. He knows what he's talking about. We've all tried it. If you've tried it, you know what he's talking about. And if you haven't tried it, you're missing out. I'm telling you, it's just not a gimmick. It's the real deal.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I mean it with all my heart. It is tremendous.
My mother knew how to make barbecue sauce. God bless her soul. And then Jan was the architect behind the mustard and the Chipotle ketchup. The hot barbecue sauce is a no-brainer. You just fire it up and use your basic recipe, the original, and then add a little heat to it. So we got beef jerky. Every order is made fresh. So the jerky's good. And we're working on some projects to maybe utilize that. And, of course, Conrad's favorite is this all-purpose seasoning.
Yeah.
You know, I've used that 2 or 3 times over the weekend. And the eggs. You know, I even season my bacon.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
With the seasoning. And it's good. So then if you cook your bacon and you got a little bit of seasoning, then when you take your bacon out of the pan, it's done. You got this bacon grease that's seasoned with our all-purpose seasoning. So then your eggs taste really, really good. So it's experimentation. I think a lot of us guys are we like to envision that we're, you know, food entrepreneurs.
Foodies, yeah.
I'm never going to be a Guy Fieri or anybody else that's famous on TV. That goose that's on Fox, what's his name?
Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. He's a piece of work.
Hey, I tell you what, I'll speak for myself. I'm a fat guy. And listen to fat guys when they're talking about food. We obviously know what we're talking about. So,
yeah, we got it down. Well, anyway, jrsbbq.com is, if nothing else, as I said before, I mean it. It costs nothing to look.
There you go.
Go try a bottle or two. We got
support them. That's right.
During Dynamite and Rampage, Stephen Link runs our site, and he always has some really cool specials where you can save yourself some really good money on a Wednesday night or a Friday night during Dynamite or Rampage on Friday. So just an idea. Give it a shot. Hope you like it. It's great for wrestling fans, gifts, birthdays, anniversaries, things of that nature.
Bar mitzvahs, Super Bowl parties, Valentine's Day grill-offs, whatever. We can come up with it. I mean,
it's just it's handy.
Always a reason, JR. Always
Americana,
a reason.
baby.
There you go. Well, guys, listen, check us out on social media at JR's BBQ for Jim Ross. You can find him on the Twitter machine, Instagram, at Grilling JR. You can find that too. At JR Grilling, I believe, is on Instagram. But you know where to find it. And listen, we appreciate all your support. This has been a lot of fun this week with you, JR. And come back next week. Connie will be back, and it'll be all about Sting from 1990-91. And JR and Connie will be looking to hit one out of the park once again here on Grilling JR with the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross.
And
So long,
no
everybody.
truth to the rumor that Conrad and I will be doing next week's show shirtless. There's no truth to that rumor. Because we're not going to punish children, women, and weak-hearted men. Just it would not be fair.
We want people to sign up for ad-free shows.
Yeah, me too.
We'll see you next week right here on Grilling JR.
See you, everybody.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.